Imagine waking up every day, your phone buzzing incessantly, people pulling you in every direction. You feel like a puppet, strings pulled by others' demands. Sounds familiar, right? But what if I told you that the key to reclaiming your life lies in learning to say no? That's right. Being constantly available drains your energy and clouds your judgment. Picture this. You're in the middle of a crucial project, deep in thought, when a notification pops up. Just like that, your focus shatters. How often do we sacrifice our own goals for the whims of others? It's a trap we don't even realize we're in. What if, instead of being a doormat, you could draw a line in the sand? Imagine the power of creating boundaries. What if, by simply stepping back, you could actually elevate your relationships and your own peace of mind? Let's break down the myth that being available means being valuable. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. So take a moment. Breathe. What would your life look like if you embraced the art of unavailability? Let's explore this transformative journey together. Trust me, it's about to get real. If you're looking for more emotional balance, clarity in decision-making, and want to learn how to handle life better, this content is for you. So go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because with each video you'll grow stronger on the inside and see life with greater wisdom. The importance of establishing personal boundaries. Let me tell you, setting personal boundaries is like drawing a line in the sand. It's essential not just for your sanity but for your overall well-being. When I first started recognizing the need for boundaries, it felt strange. I was used to saying yes to everything, thinking that I had to be available for everyone all the time. But then I realized that this constant availability was draining my energy and compromising my mental health. Establishing boundaries is about understanding your limits and respecting them. It's a way of saying, I value my time and my peace of mind. Boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're about creating a space where you can thrive. For instance, when I decided to limit how often I check my emails after work hours, I noticed a significant change. I felt less stressed and more present in my personal life. It's incredible how a simple boundary can create that much of a difference. It's not just about protecting myself from others but also about protecting my own energy and mental clarity. Once I started to establish these boundaries, I found that I could be more engaged and present in my interactions. The beauty of boundaries is that they empower you. They give you the ability to prioritize what truly matters to you. When I set a boundary around my time, I noticed that I could focus better on my passions and hobbies. I had more time to engage in activities that brought me joy rather than feeling obligated to attend every social gathering or respond to every message immediately. Creating these boundaries allowed me to reclaim my time, and in turn I became a better friend and colleague because I wasn't operating from a place of exhaustion. However, it's important to communicate these boundaries effectively. Initially, I struggled with how to tell people that I needed time for myself. I feared that I might disappoint others or that they wouldn't understand. But I learned that most people respect boundaries when they are communicated clearly. It's not about building walls. It's about creating a healthy environment where you can flourish and where others can also understand your needs. Setting boundaries is a journey, and each step forward is a victory for your mental health. In a world that often glorifies busyness and constant availability, establishing personal boundaries is revolutionary. It's a radical act of self-care. The more I practiced setting these boundaries, the more I realized how essential they were for maintaining my mental health. I encourage you to consider what boundaries you might need in your life. It's not selfish, it's necessary for your well-being. Effects of constant availability on mental health. Let's dive into the effects of constant availability on mental health. Have you ever noticed how being perpetually connected can make you feel anxious? I sure have. There was a time when I felt that I had to be available at all hours, responding to messages and emails as soon as they came in. It became overwhelming and I started to feel like I was losing control over my own life. This constant state of availability can lead to increased anxiety and stress levels, as the pressure to respond quickly can weigh heavily on our minds. When I took a step back and reflected on this, I realized that my mental health was directly tied to how available I felt I had to be. It was as if I was on a hamster wheel, running but never getting anywhere. This constant need to be on left me feeling depleted. I learned that it's essential to carve out time for myself, to disconnect from the digital world, and to focus on my mental well-being. It's okay to take a break and not be available all the time. In fact, it's necessary. Another aspect of constant availability is the way it affects our relationships. When we are always on, we might miss out on meaningful interactions with the people around us. I found that when I was constantly checking my phone or replying to messages, I wasn't fully present with my family and friends. This led to feelings of isolation and disconnection, even when I was surrounded by loved ones. By taking the time to unplug, I could engage more deeply in conversations and create stronger connections. Moreover, the impact of constant availability can lead to burnout. I learned this the hard way. The pressure to be constantly available can drain your energy and leave you feeling exhausted. It's a vicious cycle. The more available we are, the more we feel we need to be, leading to a downward spiral of stress and fatigue. Recognizing this pattern was crucial for me, as it allowed me to implement changes in my life that prioritized my mental health. I started to set specific times during the day to check my messages, allowing myself to breathe and recharge. The truth is, being constantly available is not sustainable. It's vital to recognize the signs that this lifestyle is affecting your mental health. If you find yourself feeling anxious when you can't check your phone, or if you feel the need to respond to messages immediately, it might be time to reevaluate your relationship with availability. It's okay to take a step back and prioritize your mental health. After all, it's the foundation from which we can build fulfilling lives and relationships. The difference between being available and being accessible. Let's talk about the difference between being available and being accessible. This distinction is crucial yet often overlooked. When I first understood this concept, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Being available means being present and responsive, while being accessible is about being open to interactions without the pressure of immediate response. I realized that I could be accessible without being available 24/7. This shift in mindset was liberating. When I embraced the idea of being accessible rather than always available, I noticed a significant change in my stress levels. I started to set specific times for when I would respond to messages and emails, and I communicated this to my friends and colleagues. This way, they understood that while I might not reply immediately, I was still there for them when it mattered. This approach helped me maintain my mental health while still being a reliable friend and colleague. Moreover, this distinction allowed me to prioritize my time better. I found that when I wasn't constantly checking my phone or responding to every ping, I could focus on tasks that required deeper concentration. I became more productive and fulfilled because I wasn't distracted by the pressure to be available at all times. This balance of accessibility without the burden of constant availability has made a world of difference in my life. Another benefit of this approach is the way it fosters healthier relationships. When I communicated my boundaries about availability, I noticed that my friends and colleagues respected them. It opened up a dialogue about how we could support each other without the pressure of immediate responses. This shift not only improved my mental health but also deepened my connections with others. We became more understanding of each other's needs and limitations. In essence, the difference between being available and accessible is about finding a balance that respects both your needs and the needs of others. It's about creating a space where you can be there for the people you care about without sacrificing your mental health. By embracing this mindset, I've found that I can still be a supportive friend while also prioritizing my well-being. Strategies for disabling notifications and reducing distractions. Let's get practical for a moment. One of the best strategies I've implemented in my life is disabling notifications and reducing distractions. It seems simple, but the impact it has made on my focus and mental clarity is profound. I used to be bombarded by notifications from every app, every social media platform, and every message. It was like living in a constant state of chaos. So, I decided to take control of my digital environment. The first step I took was to disable non-essential notifications. I went through my phone and turned off alerts for apps that weren't crucial for my daily life. The moment I did this, I felt an immediate sense of relief. I wasn't constantly interrupted by pings and buzzes, which allowed me to immerse myself in my tasks. This simple change helped me regain focus and dedicate my attention to what truly mattered, whether it was work, hobbies, or spending quality time with family. To further enhance my productivity, I also created specific time blocks for checking messages and social media. Instead of being at the mercy of incoming notifications, I decided to set aside designated times during the day to catch up on messages. This way I was still accessible, but I wasn't constantly distracted by the urge to check my phone. I found that this structure allowed me to be more present in my activities, leading to a more fulfilling and productive day. Another strategy that worked wonders for me was utilizing do not disturb modes during certain hours. I implemented this during my work hours and personal time, allowing me to focus without interruptions. It was a game changer. I could dive deep into projects and enjoy moments of solitude without the pressure of immediate responses weighing on my mind. This practice not only improved my productivity but also enhanced my overall mental health, as I felt more in control of my time. Lastly, I made a conscious effort to create a distraction-free environment. I organized my workspace, minimizing clutter and turning off distractions like background noise. This shift had a positive ripple effect on my mental clarity and focus. By actively managing my digital distractions and creating an environment conducive to concentration, I found that I could engage more deeply in my work and personal life, leading to a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. The impact of immediacy culture on interpersonal relationships. Now, let's explore the impact of immediacy culture on our interpersonal relationships. We live in a world that seems to demand instant responses and immediate gratification. I've felt this pressure myself, and it's something I've had to navigate carefully. The culture of immediacy can distort our expectations of relationships, leading to misunderstandings and stress. It's essential to recognize how this phenomenon affects the way we connect with others. In my experience, the immediacy culture has created the need for time for reflection and self-care. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to forget how crucial it is to take a step back and reflect. We often find ourselves on a never-ending treadmill of obligations, meetings, and social demands. But I've learned over time that carving out moments for self-reflection is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. It's in those quiet moments that I truly get to know myself, my thoughts, my desires, and even my fears. Without this time, life can feel like it's rushing by, and I risk losing touch with what really matters to me. Self-care goes hand in hand with reflection. I used to think that self-care was just bubble baths and pampering, but it's so much deeper than that. It's about nurturing my mental and emotional well-being. When I prioritize self-care, I'm not being selfish. I'm actually enhancing my capacity to deal with the world. Whether it's taking a walk in nature, journaling my thoughts, or simply allowing myself to do nothing for a while, these practices recharge my batteries and keep me grounded. Moreover, reflection is a powerful tool for personal growth. Whenever I take the time to look back on my experiences, both good and bad, I can identify patterns in my behavior and mindset. This introspection allows me to make informed choices moving forward. I often find that the answers I seek are not outside of me but within, waiting for me to pause and listen. In a society that glorifies busyness, it can feel counterintuitive to prioritize time for myself. But I've come to realize that it's during these moments of solitude that I can evaluate my life's direction. Am I heading toward my goals, or have I strayed off course? By asking these questions, I can realign my actions with my values and aspirations. Lastly, embracing the need for reflection and self-care has a ripple effect on my interactions with others. When I'm at peace with myself, I can show up more fully in my relationships. I'm less reactive, more understanding, and ultimately more present. It's a win-win situation that benefits not just me but everyone around me. How communication overload affects productivity. Let's talk about communication overload. It's like being trapped in a never-ending loop of notifications, emails, and messages. I've found that the sheer volume of communication we face daily can be overwhelming. It feels as if I'm constantly responding to someone or something, and it can seriously derail my focus. The moment I think I'm getting into a productive groove, ding, another notification pulls me back into the chaos. What's worse is that this overload doesn't just disrupt my workflow, it actually diminishes my overall productivity. I've noticed that every time I switch tasks to respond to a message, it takes a while to regain my focus. This is known as the switching cost, and it can add up over the course of a day. I've started to realize that for every minute I spend responding to communications, I lose precious time that could have been dedicated to deep work. But it's not just about the time lost, it's also about the mental energy consumed. Each ping and buzz requires some level of cognitive engagement. By the end of the day, I often feel mentally drained, not because I was productive but because I was busy being reactive. This constant state of alertness can lead to burnout, and I've had my share of those moments when I felt completely overwhelmed. To combat this communication overload, I've implemented specific strategies. For instance, I've set designated times during the day to check my emails and messages, rather than allowing them to interrupt me throughout the day. This has not only helped me regain control over my time but has also made me more intentional in my responses. I can think through my thoughts clearly without the pressure of immediate replies. Ultimately, recognizing how communication overload affects my productivity has led me to prioritize quality over quantity in my interactions. Fewer, more meaningful conversations allow me to engage more deeply, rather than skimming the surface. It's a shift that has greatly improved both my work and personal life. The connection between constant availability and burnout. I've come to understand that being constantly available can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's great to be accessible to friends, family, and colleagues. But on the other hand, that same availability can lead me straight to burnout. There was a time when I prided myself on being the go-to person, someone who was always there to lend a hand or offer support. It felt good, but I didn't realize the toll it was taking on my mental health. The pressure to be always on can create an underlying anxiety that's hard to shake off. I found myself checking my phone during dinner, responding to emails late at night, and even feeling guilty for taking time off. This constant need to be present for everyone else left little room for me to recharge. I realized that I was sacrificing my well-being at the altar of availability. As I dug deeper, I learned that this pattern is not just personal, it's a societal issue. Many of us are caught in a cycle of expectations, whether from our jobs, our families, or even ourselves, that demand our presence at all times. This culture of constant availability fosters an environment where burnout thrives. I've had to remind myself that it's okay to say no, to set boundaries, and to prioritize my own needs. Recognizing the signs of burnout was another crucial step in my journey. I started to notice that I was more irritable, less productive, and feeling a sense of dread about my responsibilities. These were my body's ways of telling me that I needed to take a step back. By acknowledging these feelings, I gained the awareness I needed to make changes. Now, I'm much more intentional about my availability. I've learned that it's okay to unplug and take time for myself. Whether it's stepping away from my phone for a few hours or designating a no-work weekend, these practices have helped me maintain a healthier balance. I'm learning that taking care of myself ultimately allows me to show up better for others, and that's a lesson I'll carry with me moving forward. Time management techniques to balance obligations. I used to think that time management was all about being organized and ticking off tasks from a list. But I've come to realize that it's much more nuanced than that. It's about finding a balance that allows me to juggle my responsibilities without feeling overwhelmed. One technique that's really worked for me is the Pomodoro technique, working in focused bursts followed by short breaks. This method has helped me maintain my concentration while also giving me the necessary downtime to recharge. Another strategy I've embraced is prioritization. I often find myself with a mountain of tasks to complete, and it can be daunting. But I've learned to categorize my tasks based on urgency and importance. By focusing on what truly matters, I can tackle the most significant obligations first and avoid getting bogged down in less critical activities. It's amazing how this simple shift in mindset can lead to increased productivity and reduced stress. I've also started blocking out time in my calendar for specific tasks. By scheduling my day, I create a roadmap that guides my actions. This not only helps me stay on track but also reduces the likelihood of distractions. When I know that I have dedicated time for each responsibility, I can approach my tasks with a clearer mind and a greater sense of purpose. Another key aspect of effective time management is learning to say no. I used to take on every request that came my way thinking it would help me build relationships or prove my worth. But I've realized that overcommitting only leads to burnout. By setting boundaries and being selective about what I take on, I've been able to maintain a healthier balance in my life. Ultimately, mastering time management is an ongoing journey. I'm continually refining my techniques and adapting them to fit my evolving needs. The more I practice, the more I realize that time management isn't just about getting things done. It's about creating a life that feels fulfilling and balanced. The importance of creating spaces of silence and disconnection. In a world saturated with noise and constant stimulation, I've found that creating spaces of silence and disconnection is vital for my well-being. It's easy to get swept up in the hustle and bustle, but I've learned that sometimes, stepping away from it all is exactly what I need. Whether it's a quiet corner in my home or a secluded spot in nature, these spaces provide the tranquility I crave. Silence allows me to reconnect with my thoughts and feelings. I often find that in the hustle of daily life, I lose touch with what I truly want or need. When I carve out time for silence, I can sift through my mental clutter and gain clarity. It's during these moments that I often have my best ideas or insights, as my mind is free to wander without distractions. Disconnection is equally important. I've realized that being constantly plugged in can lead to a sense of overwhelm. Taking breaks from technology allows me to engage with the world around me in a more meaningful way. Whether it's going for a walk without my phone or dedicating a weekend to being offline, these intentional disconnections have helped me to recharge both mentally and emotionally. Moreover, creating spaces of silence and disconnection enhances my creativity. I've discovered that my most innovative ideas often come when I'm not in front of a screen or bombarded with information. By allowing my mind to rest and reset, I create space for new thoughts to emerge. It's as if silence serves as a fertile ground for creativity to flourish. Ultimately, prioritizing silence and disconnection has transformed my relationship with myself and the world. It's a practice that fosters mindfulness, allowing me to be more present in my everyday life. By intentionally creating these spaces, I'm taking a step. How to communicate your limitations assertively. One of the most challenging things I've faced is figuring out how to express my limitations without feeling guilty or worried about how others might react. It's like walking a tightrope between being honest and not wanting to disappoint anyone. But here's the thing. I've learned that communicating my boundaries assertively is crucial for my mental health. When I started to articulate my limits clearly, I felt a significant weight lift off my shoulders. No more second-guessing myself or dreading the next request that came my way. I began to realize that asserting my boundaries is not just about saying no, but also about saying yes to my own needs. When I talk about communicating limitations, I'm not suggesting you have to be harsh or dismissive. It's all about framing your message in a way that respects both your needs and the person you're speaking to. For example, instead of saying, "I can't help you with that," I might say, "I'm currently focused on another project, but I'd be glad to assist you once I finish." This shift not only conveys my limits but also keeps the door open for future collaboration. It's all about finding that balance, and with practice, it becomes easier to express yourself confidently. What I've also discovered is that being assertive doesn't mean being inflexible. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes things come up that require me to adjust my boundaries. However, I've learned that these adjustments need to be intentional. When I communicate that I'm making an exception, I do it mindfully, ensuring that it doesn't become a habit that undermines my well-being. This way, I maintain control over my time and energy while still being responsive to the needs of those around me. Another crucial aspect is being prepared for pushback. Not everyone will immediately understand or respect your boundaries, and that's okay. I've had conversations where people have tried to persuade me to change my mind, but I stand firm in my decisions. It's essential to remember that your limitations are valid, and you don't owe anyone an explanation beyond what feels comfortable for you. When I encounter resistance, I remind myself that it's not my job to manage someone else's expectations. My priority is to take care of myself first. Finally, I've found that the more I practice assertive communication, the more natural it becomes. It's a skill that needs to be honed just like any other. Each time I set a boundary, I feel more empowered and less anxious about how it will be received. This newfound confidence spills over into other areas of my life, reinforcing the fact that my needs matter. It's a beautiful cycle. The more I assert myself, the more respect I garner from others, and the healthier my relationships become. The role of technology in perpetuating availability. Let's face it, technology has a way of keeping us plugged in, often against our will. The moment I wake up, I'm bombarded by notifications from my phone. Emails, messages, social media alerts. It's as if the digital world demands my attention before I even have a chance to gather my thoughts for the day. I've realized that this constant connectivity can be a double-edged sword. While technology allows us to stay in touch and access information, it also perpetuates a culture of availability that can be exhausting. One of the most significant impacts of this technological availability is that it blurs the lines between work and personal life. I remember a time when I could leave work at the office and not think about it until the next day. Now, with emails at my fingertips, it can feel like my workday never truly ends. I often find myself checking my phone during dinner or while watching TV, which detracts from the quality of those moments. It's a struggle to disconnect, but I've come to understand that doing so is essential for my well-being. Moreover, the expectation of immediate responses can create an unnecessary pressure. I've been in situations where colleagues expect a reply within seconds, as if my availability is a given. This has led to instances of stress and anxiety, as I feel compelled to be on all the time. I've started to combat this by setting specific times to check my messages and emails, allowing myself to be present in the moment rather than constantly looking for the next ping. It's been a game changer in reducing that pressure. Interestingly, I've also noticed how social media contributes to this sense of being always available. Scrolling through feeds filled with others' activities and achievements can sometimes make me feel like I should be doing more. The curated lives presented online often create an illusion of constant engagement. I've had to remind myself that what I see is just a snapshot of reality and that it's okay to take a step back. Limiting my time on these platforms has proven beneficial, allowing me to focus on what truly matters in my life. Ultimately, the challenge lies in finding a balance. Technology isn't inherently bad, it's how we choose to engage with it that matters. By being mindful of my usage and setting boundaries around my availability, I've regained control over my time. I've realized that it's perfectly fine to unplug and prioritize my mental space. In doing so, I can navigate my digital life more intentionally, ensuring it enhances rather than detracts from my overall well-being. The influence of social media on the perception of availability. Social media has completely transformed the way we perceive availability. It's fascinating how a platform designed to connect us can also make us feel more isolated and pressured. I often find myself scrolling through my feeds, seeing friends and acquaintances sharing snippets of their lives, and suddenly I feel this unwarranted obligation to respond or engage. It's as if the very act of scrolling creates a sense of connection that binds me to an expectation of constant availability. One of the most striking things I've noticed is that social media fosters a culture where being online equates to being accessible. If I don't respond to a message within a few minutes, there's an unspoken assumption that I'm ignoring the person, rather than simply being busy or taking some time for myself. This has led to instances where I felt guilty for not being quick to reply, even when I knew I needed a break. It's a slippery slope that can quickly lead to burnout if I'm not careful,